Hello, everybody. First of all, thank you very much for spending your time, your Friday evening, to come listen to me. Most of the time I have to pay other people to come and listen to me, so it's great to be able to do it voluntarily. Now, look, today we do stand on a precipice of a new era, an era shaped by artificial intelligence, AI, and we're encouraging everybody to engage in this conversation. This conversation is both as complex as it is crucial. And that question is, who gets to decide? But this question is not just one size fits all, a monolith, an answer, but it's a tapestry of considerations that vary. And they vary by use case and the nature of the technology itself. So consider for a moment, if you will, the profound difference between, for example, an AI model designed to harvest and analyze vast data sets for, say, language processing. Compare that to something aimed at detecting, suggesting treatments for life-threatening diseases. The former can raise significant concerns about privacy, data ownership, ethical use of information, and the latter maybe illustrates more of a path of hope, where AI can be used as a beacon for information. It's also worth remembering, and I don't say this flippantly, AI did not start its life in November 2022 when ChatGPT came out and everybody suddenly started realizing what it can do. This has been around for a long time. It takes a lot of different forms and a lot of different ways. There are a huge range of model types, data modalities, and use cases. And if you're going to consider regulation, you've got to think about regulating the whole gamut of AI models. So the data, building the model, training the model, who gets to maintain the model, who gets to use the model. And this underscores a fundamental truth that the use and governance of AI cannot be and should not be monolithic. It needs to be nuanced, flexible, tailored to the specific challenges and the specific opportunities that each type of AI can present. And critically, it needs to understand the different levels of informed consent that is required to operate. So let's think about a couple of different examples. Language models are really front of mind right now. We talked about ChatGPT. That's probably the first thing that most people come to think about when you say AI. They have the capacity to hyper-personalize, to synthesize, and to indeed fabricate at an astonishing scale. There are huge amounts of challenges that we've talked about, revealing personal identifiable information, generating harmful content, trying to shift your own frame of reference so that you may make decisions that you may not have made otherwise. And this highlights a need for a collaborative approach that involves a whole different range of expertise, technologists, ethicists, policymakers, and you, to navigate all of the minefields. We can talk a bit more about data later, and as model complexity skyrockets, so does the amount of data that's needed for it. But who provides the fuel? Can you, for example, scrape publicly available data? What does it even mean to be publicly available data? Have you given your consent for that data? How is it being used? And this can actually have some problems because the way that people bring data together can, in fact, lead to unintended outcomes. If you take, for example, some of the researcher Tim Gebru, who found that facial recognition technology is substantially worse for people with, for example, darker colored skin, or women, or minorities, because they are minorities, they are less represented in the publicly available data. So, there is other questions that arise from that. Who, for example, who gets to decide who's at fault when these models go wrong? Let's think about a different type of AI. Think about healthcare. In healthcare, AI's potential to revolutionize treatment and diagnosis is significant. Let me give you an example. Very recently, they concluded a study by a company called Accenture, which is a British biotech firm, Accenture had a study called Exalt 1. Exalt 1 took samples from live people who are undergoing cancer treatments. They took samples from their tumors and were able to personalize the response by using an AI platform. And this increased the benefit of that treatment by 1.3 times, and for some people extended their life by 3 times what the expected outcome was. Now this is clearly good, but should we consider regulation for that in the same frame that we consider regulation for text? Not sure. It's also important when we're thinking about this to think about how it affects the whole ecosystem of those that are generating and building future AIs. So if we overregulate, if we consume ourselves with bureaucracy, that can stifle innovation and can have the very unintended consequence of making the incumbents, the big companies, the people that are already there, immovable, because nobody can actually deal with the bureaucracy to get off the ground. So, to close, I guess, I think the way we've got to think about who gets to decide AI governance, it has to be dynamic, it has to be reflective of the technology's potential, and has to understand the varied implications of the types of AIs that are there. We need to recognize the unique challenges and promises of all the different modalities and applications that are being used. But we must fundamentally remember one thing. AI is not a monolith. We must commit to making decisions on its regulation and decision-making based upon input from both the builders and the consumers of the transformational technology. So therefore, instead of thinking about AI governance and who gets to decide about AI as a standalone, one-size-fits-all effort, I guess we need to infuse AI and considerations of AI into all of the decision-making that we make across the spectrum. Thank you very much for your time.